An interesting phenomenon occurred today that there was an F-16 plane that behind him came out some of the smoke in the image of the pin that is usually put on the jackets in order to show the sign of freeing the hostages. An unusual phenomenon, but I have to speak out that I heard them interviewing a professor of physics who was a big bucky, a professional in this whole phenomenon of how the fuel of these F-16 planes work, and he says it is impossible that it happened on purpose. It must have been a freak of accident. He says the way that the fuel that comes out, the exhaust that comes out from the plane only comes out sporadically, and it doesn't last even a couple seconds. Once in a while, 0.01% of the time, it might last a little bit, but that even won't last so long. And to make it in the perfect shape, it can't happen. So the people on the radio were asking him if it happened so by accident, then how did it happen? He says anyone who believes is or a hediot, he says, a simpleton, or an idiot, he said, to be able to believe that it actually happened. And he said, therefore, it must be a sign, and he got stopped in the middle. He stopped in the middle, he couldn't continue. He said, well, the truth is I'm an atheist, so I don't actually believe in anything up above happening from something like that, but it was a freak of accident, and these types of things happen once in a while. And if someone wants to take it as a sign from something above, take it, but that's not where I believe, my belief system. That was the intelligent impression of the hypothesis of this great professor that came out. And when I heard that, immediately understood a tremendous thing, a phenomenon that we are also familiar with, and that is that a person can decide amongst his perspectives what he is willing to accept. It reminds me of the first cosmonaut, the first person that ever went out into the cosmos, of course, Ivan Gregorian, when he went out and circled and spinned around the world. The first couple times that he did it, immediately he let out an incredible statement and said, I've been out here, I've been around the world, and now I have seen that there is no God. I don't see him anywhere. That was his incredible depth of understanding of what he's seen, and his hypothesis similar to the previous professors. As opposed to when the Americans went up, when Buzz Aldrin went up there, some of the words that are less famous than the words of Armstrong, when he landed, he read from the first psukim from the Torah. In the beginning, he said, Hashem created the sky and the earth, and then he also brought a pasuk in Tehillim, Perek Ches, Ki yareh shemecha ma'aseh etzbotecha, that I will see your work of your hand, Yireach v'kochavim asher kananta, the beautiful settings of the moon and the stars that you have set. Incredible. Two people going to the same place with two completely different perspectives, because everyone's vision is completely selective. A person can hear, he can see, and he can speak exactly the way he decides he wants to hear and speak. The same picture can be exposed to two different people, and you're going to think you get a completely different description, because it all has to do with what we call parshanut. It's being subjective. It is a decision that a person sees what he wants to see. If a person asks someone the time, and 5 minutes before and he saw the time, he just looked at his watch because he thought, am I late to an appointment? He looked at his watch, no, Baruch Hashem, I'm not late to the appointment. 3 minutes later, someone else comes up to him and says, by the way, what time is it? He's going to look at his watch again. What are you looking at your watch? You just looked 3 minutes ago at your watch. You know exactly what time it is. The answer is he wasn't looking for the time. He was just looking to see if he was late to that appointment. And therefore he has to look again for looking at the same watch for a different reason. A person doesn't notice all the Honda Civics on the street until suddenly he buys one. Suddenly he says, wow, there sure are a lot of Hondas out here in the streets, especially here in Eretz Israel, where there's about 4 different types of cars, and that's about it. Suddenly he notices the other type of car that's around because he specifically bought it. A person is apt to his own interpretation of the way that he wants to see it. In this lesson we learn incredibly from Yosef HaTzadik, and this is a real lesson of life that we learn from Yosef HaTzadik, because I want to explain to you. We know that Yosef HaTzadik was sold by his brothers, as we're all very familiar with. But the pasuk mentions something very unusual. It says that while he was being carried by the Yishmaelim, it says, they were carrying this type of incense on top of it. Rashi points out is a sweet-smelling incense, and it was unusual because usually Arabs carry smells that don't have the best scent. You know, matzamina tmina. People do this similar to what they are. Doesn't have the best scent, and here's finally the first time that they're carrying something that smells good. And it's unusual, and Rashi says, because tzaddikim HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes care of them. There are many lessons to learn from this, such as the incredible Hashkacha Pratita HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives him exactly what he's supposed to do. But the Nukuda, which we really have to learn from this, is Yosef Atzadik was just sold up the river by his own brother. This was an emotionally draining time. Physically, he has no idea where he's going. For all he knows, he's going to the guillotine. He might be dying anywhere soon. He has no idea when he's ever going to see his father again, if he'll ever see his father again. He realizes he's in a terribly dangerous and cryptic and unknowns to him situation, and he's really scared and he don't know what happened. Suddenly, there's a nice smell on the wagon. Chazak Baruch. I really appreciate that. Who cares? Who has time for nice smells? Who has the care and the energy for nice smells? If a person just got fired by his job and he desperately needs to keep that salary because he's got to keep up the rent and the bills, he's already behind 3 months in the electric bill, and he's at home and his wife is telling him, we're not going to make it, honey. This is a big situation here. There's a big problem. You've got to find another job. He has no compensation from his job and he doesn't know what to do. So he goes out and takes a walk around the block in order to get a breath of fresh air away from his wife, who's very nervous, and away from his situation, try to think about what's going to be the next step in life. And he passes by a nice rose bush. So he's going to stop in the corner and smell and go, oh, wow, this is so exciting. I'm so excited. Who has time for rose bushes? I have no koch for this right now. My head is too for tumult. I'm too ahead. I have no room to think about anything else about my lost job. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to not make the month. We're going to be thrown out of our house. The rent is up. Yosef Atzadik was just thrown out of his house by his own flesh and blood. He's in the biggest, most dangerous situation that a person's ever been to. He's being driven to Mitzrayim, which we're not familiar when you're far away from somewhere. Far away meant no telephones, no planes, no cars. You're finished. You're completely locked off from everywhere, all locked up from society. The only Jew left in a very dismal and far away and scary place to be. And he's thinking about roses. That's what he's doing. But the answer is because Yosef Atzadik was a different Bria. He is the one who knows how to notice every little nice gesture that comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because in as much as he realizes that everything is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he doesn't get swayed by the difficult situation. He's one who is able to live with the situation, not take the depression to his heart, and realize if I'm here, there's a reason for it, and start seeing the beautiful pieces that are written on the side. Do I have to quote to you the things that Yosef Atzadik, the ideas that Yosef Atzadik was telling his brothers on a constant basis? Don't worry, my beautiful brothers, it's no big deal. 22 years, 22 years, not so bad. But it's not from you, it was all straight from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Then the Parshat Vayechi, Vayomer Yosef al tiru atachat Elokim anochi. What am I instead of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Who do you think I am? V'atem chashavtem alei ra, Elokim chashva letovah. You thought you were trying to do bad stuff. You were trying to get me. But don't worry about it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is taking care of me. He's doing what needs to be done. I was here and given for a reason, for a purpose, and everything that happened has come. This is the incredible perspective that Yosef Atzadik teaches us. Look at the positive side of things. Not just look at the positive, but stop looking at the negative. Don't just always bicker and blame and complain and say it's because of him or because of it or because of her, and always being uptight and saying I'm such a poor misken, I'm such a poor me, and what's going to be with me, and always bickering and being upset. Oh, this was reckless. This is an accident. This is so annoying. This was a big mistake. Why did this happen? I can't handle it. This is not for me. Instead of all that, when a person has the direction of a Yosef Atzadik, he knows to say, Mina Yosim Asali Elokim, and you know what's going to happen from that? I'm not talking about any schutim now in Olam Haba. I'm not talking about the next world. I'm talking about this world. Because if you read the Psukim over and over again, what does it say about this great Yosef? B'chol asher yaseh yatzliach. Kol asher yaseh Hashem matzliach b'yado. V'asher yaseh Hashem matzliach. Over and over again, the Hatzlacha, the tremendous success, the epitome of satiation, of being satisfied, of menuchat nefesh, we find by Yosef Atzadik. Why was he matzliach? Hashem was with him. But you know why Hashem was with him? Not just because he was a tzaddik. I know you think, oh, he's a tzaddik, so Hashem's with him. Doesn't always work that way. Hashem was with him because everything he did, he knew. I'm not in place of Hashem. Hashem's doing everything. Hashem is one pulling all the strings. Everything that I'm here is there. If I'm with Hashem, then Hashem's with me. My hatzlacha is dependent on my personal decisions. It depends on how much I want to put into it, how much I want to take the perspective and realize, yes, it's a Kadosh Baruch Hu. It's because of Him. It's all about perspective. Not like that professor who previously wants to go ahead and say, there's nothing to do with the price of tea, it's koifer and everything. I had in my afterlife shirim, we had they put Yossi Lapid up and they were interviewing him, and he had an afterlife experience that he himself admits, Mr. Atheist himself, and he says he was on top of his body and describes for about 20 minutes everything that he did. I think it's in shir number 4 if I'm not mistaken, and he goes through the whole thing. And the person who's on the radio is just absolutely mummified. He says, I just don't understand. You're like the king of the leftists. You have nothing to do with God. You put him out of your perspective. So you're trying to say that there's a Hashem? He said, no. Everyone can believe what they want. I don't believe there's a God. I don't believe there's anything. I think we're just going to drop dead. He goes, but you just said you fly in space. You saw yourself. And this, he goes, everyone can believe what they want to believe. It's an incredible thing, the power of man to be able to decide what he wants to decide and to do what he wants to do. A behema, ba, he is what he is. An adam is adama. He grows, he decides, he makes decisions. It all is a matter of my own personal perspective, how I want to take it. You want to be matzliach? Then do like Yosef HaTzadik did. See that all my drachim went in the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was taking me. Then suddenly you'll start smelling the roses on the side, and you'll start realizing all the incredible things that happens. Yes, I understand, it's tough. You have that daughter in Shidduchim that's taking too long and it's taking afterwards. But if I'm Kol HaKavod, if I could say, it doesn't have to ruin your whole entire life. It doesn't mean that everybody you bump into, you have to grimace and grill. I have to tell you, I was at a wedding a couple months ago, and I met an old friend of mine from, I haven't seen him, let's say, a good half a decade, 5, 6, 7 years, I can't remember. And I said, hi, Mazel Tov, and this. I said, we were talking about, there was a wedding of a friend, a common friend between the two of us. And I said, Mazel Tov, and I said, I threw out a line, Amir Hashem by you. I had no idea. I figured he had kids, at our age, usually I have some kids somewhere in the end. And he gave me this look, this pale, this unusual look, kind of like a grimace, almost like an upset type of face. And he started telling me, yeah, I know what you mean. You're talking about my older son that's stuck. I understand, but you should know I've been trying very hard to do it. It's really his fault. I've been trying to do it. He gave me a whole Megillah Esther for about a 10-minute speech I received about the whole situation, and I didn't, it's not this, and I got, it was very a dean subject, and I didn't realize I didn't even know the person had a child in Shidduchim. I felt so bad about it that I said something I didn't realize. All I was trying to say is, Mazel Tov, B'ezrat Hashem by all of us. We always have that type of perspective. We got to take it out and pull it to a different place to realize, yes, HaKadosh Baruch Hu was sholech oti. Kol asher aseh, if you want, shekol asher aseh yatzliach, if you wanted to go that way, then you have to get the recipe from Yosef HaTzadik. Ve'atem lo shalachtem oti heina. I understand this from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I understand he's the perspective here. I understand that where it's coming from, we all have our ups and downs. There's nowhere to run, there's nowhere to hide. It's just a matter of our decisions where those difficulties are going to happen. This is the perspective. And I end with one more piece, an incredible one, the end of the Parsha. Here he is in the jail cell. Suddenly he sees the Sar Tabachim, Sar Oifim, and what does he say to them? Madua paneichem ra'im hayom. Why are your faces looking down today? Excuse me? I'm in a dark dungeon. This is worse than the Hamas tunnels over here. There's no light, there's no nothing, there's no electricity, there's no air conditioning. I don't know how they don't get claustrophobic down there. I'm here for life. I don't know what's going to be tomorrow. One of them got hanged anyways, right? It could have been both of them. Who knows what's going to happen? I'm sitting on a life sentence here. I could be here for the rest of my life till I drop dead. Madua paneichem ra'im hayom. What's wrong with you? The answer is, for Yosef HaTzadik, Madua paneichem. There's no reason to start bickering, complaining. Take it and look at it from a different light. Why can't you take it and look at it from a different type of more optimal situation? That maybe we're going to come out. He always had that future hope, and then we all know that when he went and the butler was on his way out, he said, go ahead and remind Paro about me, for whatever it was. But Yosef HaTzadik knew from whatever situation that was standing in front of him, to look it in the face and take a lemon and make out of it lemonade. He knew how to take a situation where things don't look good, and yes, when you have that one difficult kid, but look at the beautiful 7 other kids. And the other 8th one is also good. I'm not saying he's not. He's also a beautiful kid. Obviously, that's not what I meant. But at least not to lose perspective of the whole picture, to appreciate the situation that you're in, and to appreciate that a Kodesh Baruch Hu v'shalech b'yadcha, this idea. And when you go ahead and it happens to you, you should know you have a promise from Yosef HaTzadik, you have a promise from the Torah, that Kol Asher Yoseh, Hashem Yatzliach B'Yodo, because you made that decision to put Hashem in your life, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to come and make sure to give you that Hatzlacha, that success. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.